But now to some exciting news. In 2 weeks, starting on the 25th of July, Sky News Australia is launching a dedicated new channel for the Voice referendum. The channel, which will be called Sky News The Voice Debate, will cover the Yes campaign, the No campaign and the referendum itself, featuring press conferences, government announcements, alongside key news and analysis. Kicking off the new channel will be a documentary titled The Voice, Australia Decides, hosted by Sky News Northern Australia correspondent Matt Cunningham, who joins us now. Matt, welcome to the show. I hear your documentary includes exclusive interviews from right across the country with key Indigenous leaders, experts and politicians, including the Prime Minister and Opposition Leader Peter Dutton. Can you give us an insight into what you've learned through your travels?
Well, it's an interesting debate, as we're seeing play out in the news every day at the moment, Amanda. I mean, we travelled all around the country. We travelled to remote communities here in the Northern Territory. We travelled to Stradbroke Island, where the campaign director of the Yes campaign, Dean Parkin, lives. We were in Melbourne, we were in Sydney, we were in Canberra. We were in Alice Springs. So we've really tried to have a look at all sides of this debate. I think the main thing that we picked up is that Australians still don't know a lot about what's being proposed with the Voice to Parliament. And that applies to people in Melbourne and Sydney as much as it does to people in remote Aboriginal communities. So at this stage, I would say that that's the key takeaway, is that there's a real thirst for information amongst the Australian public as to exactly what it is they're going to be asked to vote on when that referendum is held later this year.
I'm glad you've travelled so much, including to Stratty in my beautiful part of the world. You've mentioned that the debate is only sort of just heating up in Canberra and that understanding is still growing even among Aboriginal communities. Can you tell us about the concerns that Aboriginal leaders have been expressing to you about the Voice so far?
Well, many Aboriginal people are very supportive of the idea of the Voice, as you know, but there are others that are opposed to this idea, and that shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, really. I mean, Aboriginal people, are not a homogenous group who have one idea on everything, and I think we've seen,
right,
and we'll see in this documentary, a range of views from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, some who are very much supportive of the idea, including the architects of the Voice to Parliament itself, and others such as Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine, who are opposed to the Voice to Parliament. And, it's the same with people on the ground. I was out in Nooka a few weeks ago, an Aboriginal community here, where many of the people from that community are opposed to the Voice to Parliament because they believe that it'll only further entrench the disadvantage they already live with. You go to other parts of the Northern Territory, other remote communities. We were on Groote Island, for example, where the local land council there, the Anandili-Aqua Land Council, is supportive of the Voice because it thinks that it can help with local decision making that's improving things for people on the ground there. So there's a range of opinions, not just amongst Australians generally, but there's a range of opinions amongst Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians as well.
And I know it's early days, but what's your call? Do you think the referendum will succeed?
Look, I think it's in trouble at the moment. I think that the Yes campaign would be very concerned about the poll numbers and where they've been heading. If you consider that at the beginning of this year, the poll numbers had the support for the Yes vote at more than 60%. We've now seen it drop to the low 30s, the low 40s in some polls, and perhaps even lower in some. And you'd have to say that the don't knows, given the history of referendums in this country, are more likely to vote no than they are to vote yes. I think the Yes campaign has got a lot of work to do. I think it's in real trouble in Queensland and in Western Australia, particularly when we're having this debate at the same time about the cultural heritage laws there. I think New South Wales and Victoria are probably in front. It might get up in those two states. That means it's going to come down to to South Australia and Tasmania. We know that Linda Burney's in Tasmania at the moment. That should be no surprise. I think Tasmania and South Australia is where you'll see most of the focus from here on in, because the Yes campaign will know it needs to win the support of those two states if it's going to win this referendum.